Director, my new colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is an enormous privilege for me, a deep delight to be with you today. And I apologize for my shameful ignorance of Portuguese. Shameful, no other word. So I asked whether you would want me to speak French or English, and the rector has suggested English, but I will mix it a little in a fruit salad. Not to know Portuguese is to be ignorant of one of the central intellectual and psychological realities of Europe, of that strange hope in sadness, l'espoir dans la tristesse, which is a unique element of Portuguese consciousness, art, and literature. It means that one has to read Pessoa in translation. It means that one knows what would our European literature today be without Saramago and without that dark giant Lobo Antunes. He is the one. He's the great dark giant in the European novel, in European thinking and writing of today. So forgive me if I can't speak to you as I would wish to in your language. The humanities are in a very genuine moment of crisis. The two world wars, which were European civil wars, never forget that. The word came in, but they are European civil wars. The terrible losses of life have cut away the confidence of a culture. What did Paul Valéry say? In 1919, nous savons maintenant que toutes les cultures sont mortelles. And that was before the final horror. That was before the real horror came. And the humanities did not help. Let's be very, very frank on this. Goethe's garden, you walk through the garden at Weimar, and you are in the grounds of the concentration camp of Buchenwald. Buchenwald is a few hundred meters from Goethe's garden pavilion. Men who in the evening could sing Schubert, play Mozart, read Rilke, they did, could torture in the morning. And we do not have an answer to that. Forgive me, the psychologists here, the sociologists, the comparative econometricians, we have no answer. We did not think that would happen. We believe that the humanities humanize. It doesn't look that way. I myself, 50 years of teaching, you come home in the evening after reading the third act of King Lear with your students, and nothing else is real. Someone screams in the street, "Aiutami, aiutami, help me." You don't hear it. You're in the world of fiction, of great music, of great art. It is possible, I hope I'm wrong, that the humanities make us less humane, that they give us an enormous inner richness which makes us less capable of reacting immediately and powerfully to human need. Human need is often stupid, disorderly, it has no beauty, and if we really live visci l'arte, says Floria Tosca in that great aria, I live for my art. I live by art. I live by scholarship, by teaching, by a university. Why were we no help when the night came, when midnight came? And I don't think we can avoid that question, and the young have every right to ask it and to say, what now? Every one of us carries inside himself an imaginary university. And I think of a university where everybody would have to study 3 fields, introductory way. The first is architecture. To build a building today means you touch on physics, on the physics of materials, on sociology. A building is a complicated social act. On economics, how are you going to finance it? How will it earn its living? On hygiene, of course. On the environmental studies, to understand what it is to build, to try and stop what we are doing to our cities, to try and have enough knowledge. The lovely English expression is to read a building, lire un bâtiment, as you do a book or a poem. Understand its meaning. There is no field which architecture doesn't touch, reach, and unless we do something to stop the barbarism, the scream of money, the fascism of money, which is now destroying our cities. But we have to learn a little about that. My second obligatory course, of course, is mathematics. No human being is literate without some mathematics. Not only because our technology is mathematics, not only because every moment of your daily life is surrounded by mathematical decisions, questions, but because mathematics is one, perhaps the only great voyage of joy in human history. From Pythagoras and earlier, of course, till today, it has been a constant voyage of discovery, a constant voyage of enrichment. It is probably the most peculiar thing man can do. Pure mathematics, no animal, no other life form, this tremendous, useless, transcendental beauty of mathematics. And it has given human beings one of the very few evidences that we can move forward a little, que nous avons un voyage à travers le temps. And the third field is music. A child who can play an instrument enters a different world. Music is the language of all people. It knows no frontiers. It does not need translation. It refuses paraphrase. And music is an activity which means we feel, yes, we know that there is something else. There is something we can't say. There is something we can't explain, thank God. And great music keeps reminding us of the possibility of transcendence. There is something else. So that my imaginary student would not leave my imaginary university without some introduction to these 3 fields. What I'm really trying to say in a very simple way is unless we find a road back to the sciences, in the larger sense of the word science, we cannot hope for these universities to continue to flourish. The gap between the humanities and the sciences is the most worrying, the most damaging aspect of our present academic situation, but much more than academic. A number of brilliant mixed courses are being taught at Stanford University in the United States. You can study law and biogenetics together, because every problem of birth control stem cell, the treatment of mental handicaps. The most complex law problems are today biogenetic problems. And to imagine that we can approach solutions to these urgent questions without at least learning the alphabet of the science. What does it mean to clone a human being? What does it mean to argue over stem cells in the treatment of disease? What is really going on with the birth rate, with demographic problems, and the enormous legal issues they are going to produce? You can also, at Stanford, study business, economics, and physics, a mixed degree. The idea is that the person who will be a great success in business, in management, the new kings of our world, should also know a little bit about the laws of physics, about why things are the way they are. These are just beginning, but they are on the right road. It is terrifying that people consider themselves educated who cannot even touch on the main urgent technological issues, scientific issues of our day. Never forget, this could have been another story. Plato says on top of the gate of the academy, let no man enter here who does not know geometry. That is Plato. And to Aristotle it was completely obvious that you had to study some science while studying metaphysics, while studying poetics and literature. The separation has become, in some ways, catastrophic. Do not say that it is too difficult, that it can't be done. Of course it can be done. We have become fantastically lazy. We have become fantastically passive. Millions of people who simply sit in front of a television screen, who listen to music without even wanting to know how it is produced, what its laws are, what its rules are. If we had an imaginary visitor from outer space, for most of us, I'm now speaking completely about my own deeply ignorant self, he would say, this telephone, how does it work? He would point at the radio, how does it work? How does the light switch work? Do not ask people of the highest culture to explain the elementary instruments of their daily lives. And it is getting wonderfully frightening. I go to a pharmacy in Cambridge. I buy a little alarm clock for my trip to Lisbon. I worry about the change of time, winter time. There's a satellite which changes the little clock automatically. Now try and understand what that means. I mean, a Newton, a Galileo could not have dreamt of what the pharmacy sells me. And a satellite regulates every little clock. I can say a sentence like that, but I don't know what it means, and that is deeply shameful. We babble. We babble words which we do not know what they mean. What does high fidelity mean? I couldn't live without it, but I can't explain it. The Lord God got very impatient with us one day recently. Basta, enough, enough. This time the flood will be the real thing. No Noah, no ark. This time, adios. This time. And the news comes, and God says, 10 days, you have 10 more days. And in the little village, the people come to the rabbi, 10 days. Rabbi says 10 days is plenty long enough to learn to breathe underwater. And I am deeply convinced that we're going to have to learn to breathe underwater. Nous tous, il faut apprendre à respirer sous l'eau. But it is going to be a wonderful adventure, that too. I thank you from the heart.